Our first presenter is our keynote speaker, Mr. Norbert Große-Enstrup. He's a complexity management expert from Boston Consulting Group and a partner. And the keynote is Mastering Portfolio Uncertainty in Disruptive Times. He will try to cover what the impacts are, how we should handle to it, react to it, and what the potential solutions are. With that, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Norbert Große-Enstrup.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here and to talk about complexity management, the portfolio, and how we can optimize it. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, and looking forward for your presentation.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, mastering portfolio uncertainty in disruptive times. What is this all about? I think you all of you know that your portfolios grow and grow have grown and grown in the past, and we will see that also in the future, that we will have more and more products to offer to the market. And that's why it is very important, on the one hand, to really focus on the right portfolio, to know what is the best approach to find the right solution here. And on the other hand, we have coming from the external a lot of disruptions, like the supply chain, what we have seen in the past, like new competitors coming from all over the world. So I would like to really introduce in this complexity management area with a few slides to explain how it works. And what you see is that your CEOs and your company is always looking for new market segments. Where can we grow? Where can we start with new areas for our product portfolio? And we will see also a lot of risk in here. Some of them I have already mentioned is the supply chain, what was disrupted very often and where we really need to care about. And the other thing is that we need to modify our portfolio significantly because our customers and end users have a lot of different requirements that they would like to have fulfilled with our offering, with our service that we bring to the market. So I think that we have a bright area of actions to take to really cope with the complex environment that we see here. And what often is the case that we do not know really what is our portfolio. How many different variants do we have? Why do we have them? I have seen that in the past in my consulting career very often in different industries, that we have a lot of different variants in the market, grown in the past, and very often we didn't stop to produce the different variants. We started with a good product portfolio feeling that we said that would be the right products for the market. But after a while, when we have updated them and so on, the end of production is very often not seen. So in parallel, we have a brighter and brighter product portfolio that we have to cope with. And that's why we need to know the context. We need to know why we have these different variants. What are the requirements coming from the market? And when we are able to cope with this big number of variants, it can also help us to gain more benefit. When we use the portfolio to really target the requirements of the different market segments that we want to attack. And with the help of new data transparency, AI is just growing very fast, and some of you will really have seen a lot of experience here, I think. But that can also help us to optimize the portfolio, to get more data transparency, to analyze a product portfolio, and try to really find the best solution to cope with this. And complexity management offers a good view on the portfolio and the overall processes that we have on board. When we look in detail, and I have seen a lot of these situations in different industries and for different products. When we start with a product view, it's very often the case that the number of components that we have is more than 10,000. We have a lot of different components to find the right solution for our customers. And this is really difficult to cope with that and to have the engineering base transparent so that we can develop and in a very short period a successful product. And what we see very often is that more than 30% of the value is added from outside. So suppliers help us to produce our products, and that even makes it not more easy because complexity that you give to your supplier is still existing. So it is very important to have a very clear definition of your product portfolio. And when it comes to these global supply chains, what we have seen in the past is that we have insolvencies here quite often. It depends on the industry sectors, but that makes it not more easy to have a stable supply chain here. And we have technology changes. We have geopolitical disruptions. So all these external influences can be minimized by an optimum product portfolio. It's not only the external complexity what we have to optimize, even more the internal complexity. But let me describe that on the next slides in the future. The second area is the project organization. We are not in the case or in the situation that we only have one development area, one development site. We need to work together all over the world with different regions, different time zones, and different people. So it is very important that we really focus on the benefit of our portfolio and that we really reduce the number of components and parts here with an optimized start for the future. And what we see also is that our stakeholders like product management, R&D, and procurement often are in the same building, but they do not communicate so much to each other because all of them have a lot to do, have their own tasks, have their own KPIs, and that should not be the case in the future. We really need to optimize also the organization and the processes. That leads me to the third point, to the processes within the organization. What you often see is that companies have a well-structured and organized process in description. But what is quite often the case, that it's not clear how formalized these processes are really lived in execution. So I have seen quite often that processes and milestones are used in different strengths and definitions that really doesn't make it more easy to have a short development process. And the problem that occurs here is that we have to analyze the requirements coming from the market and that we have to create new products for the next generation. And we have to be really fast here because our competitors are fast in the same way. They really focus on the requirements the customers have, and then it is up for us as a as a company long in business. We really need to speed up in these areas. And how do we react to this external complexity, like new competition, increasing customer expectations, new technologies, shorter product life cycles, all these external topics that we cannot influence directly lead very often to internal reactions like a real high number of different KPIs. spreading bureaucracy. So everybody wants to know everything, wants to sign everything, wants to discuss everything. Multiple systems that try to give us all the information that we need. Single source of truth is not given in many companies. So it is a real high complexity rising in the internal processes, in the decision making, and the structure and processes that we find in the companies. When we compare the complexity index that will rise, it has risen in the past very high, and I think it will really continue to rise. And the complicatedness in the company will rise by 6 times if we do not change that. We really need to focus in these areas that is really helpful. And when we come to our CEOs, they have a lot of questions, typical concerns that they really want to have analyzed and want to understand why this situation is like this. We have seen quite often that they ask for more speed. Why are we moving so slow? Why is our product development process longer than the others? Why is our product launched later than expected? And this is one very important area of coping with complexity, that we have a very slow process in place. Decisions take too long for no reason. It is not clear why we do not have an approval, for example, for the CAPEX in that example here. The second area is too much silo thinking. So weak operations between these different departments and areas leads to low performance. The interfaces between the departments, between the processes that are in place in a company are very difficult to handle. And people really follow their individual KPIs and they do not have a common goal. The third one is hard to get things done. People do not get things done. They focus on the essential. They are really in deep analyzing, in deep structures, and try to really understand the complex combinations of the products and the environment. And that really does not help to speed up here. And they spend too much time in meetings, in discussions, and waste in reporting. The fourth area is poor decision making. Too many topics are discussed on board level, and no decisions are derived from that. So decisions still come back to the board and need to be decided. People struggle with the actual situation because of the complex surroundings. The next one is no innovations. No innovations is a high important topic. We will see that on the next slide when we see the analysis of the most important topics for CEOs. But no innovation means that we are too slow here. Our products become obsolete because the requirements of the customers have changed. Competitors are passing by. They have new ideas. They are faster because they have really streamlined their portfolio and speed up. And we need really to follow that. We need really to come to more reactive situation to reduce the complex situations that we have to cope with. And the last most important thing is also higher cost. Resources need to grow each year. Once I have discussed that in the automotive industry by seeing the product portfolio growing and growing, and also the indirect areas. People in these areas need to really cope with this complex environment. We have seen that before, that the internal complexity in processes and decision making is really growing. And we see that by having more and more people in these indirect areas, the overall revenue of the company is not growing in the same percentages. So high cost is an important topic here, and in the same way. We have done a survey, and innovation remains the top 3 priority beneath cost, actions, and talent and people for clear. And that was clear. And innovation is highly important. It is important in different industries, and all these industries want to invest in innovation in the next years and dramatically. So they want to focus on the right products, on the right new service systems to cover the requirements from the different market segments. And what we have seen also in the past, that there's no direct combination between spending a lot of money in the innovation process and the revenue that you get out of the company. You need to focus on the right products, on the right product portfolio, on the right segments. And you need to decide which requirements you are not fulfilling. If you really want to try to cope with your product, all the requirements you have seen in the market, you will fail. So it is the same way very important to decide what to do and what not to do. And over that all, we have a methodology that we call smart complexity management. And this begins with the portfolio complexity, really to understand the market segments, to understand the requirements from the different customers, to really understand what they are willing to pay for. We define the product strategy. We define the product range and design of the product and the requirements management. So at the very beginning, the front loading of the product development is very important, and product portfolio complexity needs really to be in focus of every CEO. Second step is the product complexity. This is all about let me say, the pieces and parts for your product. It's about variant management. How many different variants do you want to have in your product? What about modularity and modular product design? How modular should your product be? Do you have one modular product architecture, or do you need a second one for your different market segments? Value cost engineering is very important because we need to reduce the cost. We need to optimize the value chain and use all the efforts that we can see to reduce the cost of our products. And system engineering helps really to reduce the interfaces between different departments within the company. Third area is process and production complexity. Whenever you have a good product, very streamlined, it is in the same matter important that you optimize your value chain. On the one hand, we speak about a product or a modular product architecture. When we come to the value chain, we need a modular process architecture. So it is important that we really know what technologies we want to cope with, how we produce our product, what knowledge do we have in our value chain. So supply chain management is quite important, and we need to use the Internet of Production to streamline the production to reduce the cost here. And the fourth very important area is people and organization. Who is responsible for our modular product architecture? Who will take care about the product portfolio and optimize it? Who will know what is the cost of the real cost of the complex products that we have? So innovation management needs to be defined in a new way. We need to really cope the requirements from the segments that we are targeting. I just want to show or discuss a nice example from Barry Schwartz. So he really loves to wear jeans, and he loves them every day, and he uses them and he wears them during the weeks and months and so on. And a certain time, he needs to buy a new one, new jeans. And in the past, he went just to a shop, and then he chooses one or two, he tried them, and then he bought one pair of jeans and was very satisfied. But nowadays, he went to a shop and then he saw the huge number of different jeans that were offered, like denim, like slim fit pants, like wide leg jeans, like tapered jeans, like slim jeans, like high rise or ultra high rise. So a real big number of different jeans. He tried them all and said, okay, this one is nice, the other one is nicer. So it was very difficult for him to choose the right one. And what he figured out here is the choice produces paralysis. So the more choice we have in this example, I think quite good. It's a quite good description here. The more choice we have, and this is also in the B2B business, the less fast are the decisions, because you always think, why didn't I choose another one? Isn't there another variant that fits better to me? Do I need a new function here that I haven't seen before? What could be the best variant for me? So it will take a long time to really have a decision here. And the second step is we end less satisfied with the result of the choice, because we thought, it might be another variant that would be a better one for me. So even if you have a very good jeans here in this example that really fits and is very, very nice to wear, you think about, might there be another one that's better for me? So the more you offer to the customer, the less satisfied they will be. Yeah. So that's what we see also in the complex program from supermarkets. What we have seen here in the Walmart, that we have 40 types of toothpaste, 285 different cookies, different salad dressing, fruit juices, soups, and so on. So a really big number of different products, different variants that are offered. Or here, configurable stereo systems by Best Buy in the combination that ends up to 6.5 million different combinations. So really complex situation. And even in the automotive industry, we have seen within one model range 70 variants of cockpits, 72 variants of gear shifts, and 24 variants of air conditioning pipes. And you see we have a lot of external complexity shown on the two pictures on the left side, and internal complexity with the variants of the air conditioning pipes. So we see complexity in both areas, in all industries, and we really need to focus on the right variants. What we do is a modular architecture process in 4 parts. In the first part, we talk about the segments, the market segments we want to focus on. We really need to understand what are the requirements within this market, and what are the market segments with a high volume, with a high revenue, and growing. So which market segments do we want to focus on? We really need to understand that. And this front loading is what I think is most important in the product development process. So really understand the requirements in the market. And to do that, on the one hand, you can set up some use cases to understand how the customer is using the product. I've seen that also with Hilti. They analyzed how to drill a hole in the wall, and they recognized that the most of the time you need to measure where to place the hole. Drilling the hole is not time consumption. Measuring where is the important step. And that's why they developed a new tool that really helps to spot the right point for the hole that you want to drill. So understand the market segments and the requirements. Second step is design the platforms and modules. Optimize the product line flexibility and bandwidth. This depends on the market segments that you will focus on. Define your platforms and set hard points. That means analyze if you need one platform for your market segments or a second one that really targets the low cost segments within your portfolio, so that you can really target these cost points with your product. Set up a module structure. Define a set of modules, scalability and sequencing, so that you really know which modules and functions have to be combined. What are the interfaces? Try to find common interfaces so that over the long term, you can update your product, you can bring in new functions, you can bring in new cost optimized product areas, so that you can optimize the overall cost of the product. And do that together with your suppliers. Identify the right interfaces between the modules that are delivered to your production sites and the complex modules that you set up within your own production. And you cannot change the whole product in one step. You have to build up a catalog for that and do that in waves. So define what segments to focus on in the first step, define the products that fulfill the requirements, and start with developing the first modules within this process. The fourth point is redesign the engineering process. More in the direction that you have a governance process, so that not everybody is allowed to start with a new variant to cope with the actual sales situation. Really need to understand that when you start with a new component, new product requirement, that you have to keep your model architecture in focus so that you can use it over a longer period. And the fourth, last point here is also what I have mentioned before, the optimization of the production process, the modular process architecture. And that's where, for example, Volkswagen really earned its money. And that was really the main focus to start with the modular product architecture. The biggest savings were not in product development, they were in production, using the same technologies, using the same interfaces, and reaching out for a high number of same combinations and scale effects within the value chain. That was the overall target of the complexity analysis. And what we see here is when we fulfill this process, that, for example, the customers will have a high benefit here. Faster availability of the new solution for them. So within this modular product architecture, you can combine different modules to a new product and fulfill these new requirements from the market. You will get a higher product quality for a reasonable price because of the scale effects. And you will have innovative capabilities, and retrofitability will lead to increased sustainability and reputation. By having a product that you can update regularly, the sustainability is much higher than for products that you have to exchange. When we look at the benefits marketing and product management will have, we will have a higher consumer centricity, shorter time to market, and faster innovation cycles. And in R&D, we will have more time to create new or to start with new innovations and start with projects to reduce the cost instead of dealing with the complex product architecture with this high number of different components that we will have here. And we will also reduce the time to market in these areas. Production, logistic, purchasing, I have mentioned some of the benefits already, but we will have the possibility to have a higher degree of automation. We will have also combined with the supplier interfaces, an increased negotiation power. Because with a reduced number of components and reduced number of changes within the production, we can have a lower piece price and a higher productivity also at the supplier size. And that will overall reduce the unit costs. In sales, you will have a higher return on sales because of the reduced cost and a higher availability. So we can bring the product faster to the customer. And in after sales areas, we will have less spare parts. And I've seen that in a good example. Maybe I described that. We have seen that in the automotive industry. I was talking to a responsible manager for spare parts management, and he was standing at the window in the third floor and pointing out to his huge number of components and spare parts that he can manage. And he said, "There, I have no problem. I have everything here right in place." But what he forgot is that he has a lot of spare parts spread all over the world to guarantee the availability of these spare parts. So it's a huge effort, and that is not only for 1 or 2 years, it's 10 and 15 years ongoing after the EUP of a product. So it's a huge effect that we can arise here when we reduce the complexity. And we will have easier repair and diagnostic in the product because the product structure is really clear. So when we come to an end here of my presentation, we see that product definition, the portfolio and product management is a very important point in the complexity management methodology. Define the right product, define the right market segments that you want to offer your products, and also define what you do not want to do, because not all product functions and requirements will fit into one product. So really focus on the product definition. The second point is use a standard product architecture. A modular product architecture will help to be faster in the market, to have the possibility to change the functions within the product more easy without influencing the whole product if you have a well-defined interfaces. And the third area is that you will have a configurable BOM. This will help you to really focus on the right products, on the right configurations, scenes here, and to be fast in the market. So overall, I think the most important thing is that you, on the one hand, focus on the product, have a clear definition of the products that you want to offer to the market, about the number of variants you want to offer and the optimum for your different market segments. And align with sales and with what different variants you want to offer and what is out of scope in the product portfolio. Second point is the process. Optimize the product portfolio by strict business cases to decide on modularization versus ramp down. So really set up business cases for your products and phase out what is not with a high revenue in the moment. And set up a modular next generation. The third area is the organization. Be responsible, find the responsible people for the product architecture and the modules, and strengthen the use of the focused product portfolio by a well-defined pricing system. So I think this is the most important thing, that you really focus on product, process, and organization when you focus on complexity management. So thank you very much for your audience, and I feel free to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Norbert, for your presentation and giving us insight on some of the challenges we see and trends we see in the B2B market space. You mentioned some of the challenges as well, like the companies, having time to market. In order to shorten the time to market, then we go in and have some quality decrease, or we have some cost reduction and compromising on the product. So that's one of the challenges I saw in your presentation. And also the external, the complexity which is given by external things. But in order to react internally on the complexity, you mentioned, the complicatedness. Now, this is a very complicated word, complicatedness, which increase. Could you give, in order, what can companies do to avoid that?
The important thing, I have already outlined that a little bit, is that you start with front loading. Before you start the development process, really focus on these market segments and requirements that you want to fulfill. If you're not clear here, if you start with developing a new product by copying or using the same structure that your competitors have, you might shoot not in the right direction. You might not cope the right requirements from your customers. So it's important, this front loading, to start here at the very beginning.
Yeah. And I think the key takeaways was pretty clear, very clear on make a clear product definition, modularization, have the right modular product versus ramp down, and also to have the whole organization with you. Thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for joining this Configuration Lifecycle Management Summit this year. Let's move forward to the next presenter now.
Okay.
Thank you.